Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to this live stream with me, Dr. Aparajita Jeetagunta, the founder and CEO of AJ Rao, where our motto is making the invisible visible for better belongingness. And I'm also the creator of the Culturally Competent Conversations for Equity and Belongingness Summit, or the C3EB Summit. We had our inaugural summit August 26th through the 28th of 2020, just a few months ago. And the momentum and the response from this was just so great. And the feedback was so phenomenal that we decided to grow exponentially. One of the biggest reasons we also decided to grow is that conversations about equity and belongingness should not happen in silo spaces just once a year, in a 2-hour seminar or something to that nature, where you don't get to practice what you learn in those 2 hours consistently over the course of the rest of the year. Conversations about equity, belongingness, intentional inclusion, and harnessing and leveraging the power of the diversity inherent in your organization. These types of conversations need to be happening every single day, and they need to be the foundations of all of our business goals and all of our business strategies, so that we can not only intentionally include and create spaces where all of our talent can thrive, we can also benefit from including people in a very tangible, financial, profitable way. With all of that being said, it is my immense pleasure today to tell you about our upcoming C3EB Summit on November 19th and 20th. And this summit is going to happen over the course of 2 days from 12 p.m. to 8 p.m. The registration link is scrolling right on the bottom of this video. So whether you're watching this video live or watching it later, please make sure you go and register. Today, I wanted to take a little bit of time to tell you about the theme for this upcoming summit and why this theme is so dear to me. This summit on November 19th and 20th is going to focus on improving the accessibility of equity and belongingness in our talent pipelines. Very often, as leaders and decision makers, when we think about improving our diversity or improving our inclusion in our organizational spaces, even to this day, we are still looking just at diversity numbers. And of course, there are a ton of data points at this point, in this day and age, on the benefits of diversity and inclusion, and of course the business case for it. But in relegating these kind of real life lived experiences into data points that may or may not get accurately represented, we have failed to take into account who these initiatives are serving. And I say that with full seriousness. When we think about equity, intentional inclusion, and belongingness, who are we trying to serve? Whose voices are we trying to uplift? And whose stories are getting marginalized in our efforts? And how are we using our data to serve those who need these initiatives? Or are we using them to benefit those who don't actually need these initiatives? These are some really pressing questions that I have and that I know many other practitioners in this field have. At the end of the day, when we talk about accessibility, we need to talk about not just accessibility to in terms of our initiatives, but also accessibilities beyond the elevators and wheelchair ramps. How are we including our neurodiverse talent? How are we including our neuroatypical talent? How are we including our LGBTQIA plus talent? How are we including other historically marginalized group members in not just benefiting from these initiatives, but being in spaces where those with these lived experiences that are not mainstream, that have caused them to be marginalized, they need to be in those seats making the decisions. And that's my big why for having this conversation. My bottom line when I started the C3EB Summit was really to kind of showcase the diverse talent that is available to us. There is no shortage of diverse talent. That is a myth. We have a seeing and hearing problem, especially in America, because diversity has always existed. Diversity is a part of the natural human spectrum. It is a part of the natural universal spectrum. So let's get to the real issues here, which are equity and inclusion. And when we talk about equity and inclusion, if we are just putting these initiatives out in order to check off whatever boxes we need to or fulfill whatever budgetary requirements we need to, we are not doing our due diligence. We are only putting out performative stuff. So how can we go about improving the accessibility of our equity and belongingness initiatives in our workforce pipelines? This summit on November 19th and 20th is going to focus on organizational spaces. It is going to focus on small business and entrepreneurship equity, and it is going to focus on educational equity, because overall, these are the three main entities in our talent pipelines. Through our educational systems, we funnel our talent into our workforce as they get older, and an increasing number of them are moving into small business and entrepreneurial ventures. So when we look at this pipeline, for instance, how are we teaching our kids about neurodiversity? We know, for instance, that 1 in every 20 children, and these are just reported numbers. So imagine the reality. 1 in every 20 children has some sort of a disability. First of all, how are we labeling this disability? Is it just being differently abled, for, like in the case of many conditions and many people who are neurodiverse, or is there an actual functional issue happening there? I had to think about the word. And so how are we teaching our children about neurodiversity? How are we teaching our children about how to be anti-racist in structures that have not been built with anti-racist frameworks? What are our kids learning so that as they grow up and move into our workforce pipelines, this is what they're modeling? So if we don't intentionally model, teach, coach, mentor, and guide our talent pipelines towards what equity is and towards what intentional inclusion is, not just our current generation of leaders, but our next generation of leaders and the generation after that are going to face the same societal problems that we are, except in worse ways, because society is getting more and more complicated with technological advancement. So as we are evolving into this new technological world that is completely all technology, how are we teaching our talent pipelines about the core of our humanity, about the core of our humanness? To embrace differences, to cherish differences, to celebrate differences, and then to intentionally include those who are different from us. That's where it starts, right? with our kids, and then it perpetuates itself into our adulthood. What is the kind of conditioning that we are putting our kids through? What is the kind of conditioning that we as adults are still putting ourselves through? And what are the things that we need to be looking at in order to create implementable, sustainable solutions for equity and intentional inclusion and belongingness, so that we create a more stable future for ourselves and for our future generations, so that we create a better future for our future generations, because they deserve nothing less, right? And so that is why the theme for the November 8th, 19th, and 20th C3EB Summit is improving the accessibility of our equity and belongingness initiatives in our talent pipelines. You are going to get to hear from several experts in the field, some of whom are returning experts from the previous inaugural summit. For instance, authority marketing specialist extraordinaire Ruthie Bowles is coming back to talk about inclusive marketing for the small business and entrepreneurial spaces. We have Dr. David Glover, who's going to be talking about mental health, and intersecting mental health, spirituality, religion, and African American communities and LGBTQI plus communities. We have Zanzibar Vermilio, who's coming back to talk about how do you tap into your higher consciousness to elevate yourself as a human being who is intentionally inclusive. We have Ronald Sanderson, who's coming in to talk about neurodiversity, about the real lived experiences of people who are neurodiverse. And these are just some of our experts. I have about 20 lined up for you, and I will be speaking as well. I know in the last summit, I didn't do that. So this time I will actually be presenting some of my thoughts as well. So this is going to be overall just an amazing, amazing summit. And if you register now, you actually get access, lifetime access to all of the C3EB content that has come out between August 20th and August 2020, August 2020 and August 2021. So if you register now, you get access to a year's worth of content that you can learn from. That's nearly 100 hours of education and insights into how to upskill your own knowledge, your own understanding, and your own practice of diversity, equity, inclusion, and belongingness, so that you can be the conscientious leader that you know you want to be on the inside, so that you can be the champion for intentional inclusion. You can be an intentional ally, and we can walk this walk together, and we can create and shape our futures together. So make sure you register now, so you get access to all of this content. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to me. We have this summit coming up in November. We have our next summit coming up in February. We have another summit coming up in May. And of course, our big annual C3EB Hackathon Summit next August, where I have a ton of exciting content for you there. One last thing I do want to tell you before I jump off today's live stream, because today is Manifestation Monday. Please think about how you want to manifest your intention towards inclusion. What is your big why to be an intentional ally who is helping promote this societal movement toward equity and social justice? What is your big why for you to create, to co-create this and collaborate with the rest of us on creating this future for our future? And if this is something that you are interested in being a speaker on, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. I am going to drop my discovery call here. Please reach out to me if you want to be a speaker, or if you want to go on this journey towards being a conscientious, energy balanced, inclusive leader. Don't hesitate to reach out to me, because we need inclusive leaders. We need to build this new inclusive leadership model that makes sense for all of us, and we have to do it together. So if you feel like you are a subject matter expert who wants to speak on this, or you want to learn more about what the journey toward inclusion and equity entails, there is my bit.ly link to schedule a discovery call with me right on my screen. So please make sure you do that. And again, for those of you who watch this live, or you're watching this later, thank you so much for tuning in. I really, really appreciate all of you. And I hope you get value from everything that I do. So I'd love to hear back from you. That's it for me for this Manifestation Monday. Don't forget to register for the C3EB Summit. You can go right to www.c3eb.com and click on the Register Now button to register for the summit, which will give you multiple options, including getting access to an entire year's worth of content. So I'm looking forward to delivering all of this content for you, and I'll be back. Actually, this Wednesday, I will be back with a bonus live stream with an expert, Wanda Torini, who is going to blow your minds with some amazing insights and strategies on how to maximize your return on investment with every video engagement you make, or every speaking engagement you have, whether that's a video on your social media, whether that's a recorded video or a webinar, whether that's a podcast, whether that's a speaking engagement, no matter what. So make sure you tune in at noon on Wednesday, noon Eastern on Wednesday, October 21st, for this very special expert presentation. I recently met Wanda, and she blew my mind with the insights that she gave me. I've been implementing these insights and strategies that she gave to me already. And I've already, I'm not even joking, in a week, I've seen a difference in the clarity of my communications, in the value that I am able to give to all of you, to you, and in how I am able to step in completely and wholly from that space of giving. Now, I do that anyway, but she helped me clarify this in terms of the communications in just such a beautiful way. So especially if you are a speaker or want to be a public speaker, this is definitely Wednesday, October 21st at noon Eastern. That's a presentation you definitely don't want to miss. I will be live streaming it, so it will be available exactly where you're watching this now. But so until Wednesday, that's it for me. I'll talk to you then. Bye.